Really? You actually bought a house? If that's the case, I'd like to move in with you, my mother-in-law said over the phone, her suggestion completely out of the blue and entirely unreasonable. She must have gotten wind of our new home from my husband. I could hear my sister-in-law laughing in the background. Does she think I won't notice? Honestly, I have no intention of living with my mother-in-law and the others, and I was pretty sure my husband felt the same way. But now that they know about the house, are they assuming we'll all be living together? The thought of my husband possibly being in on this idea fills me with unease. But there's no way I'm going to let them manipulate me. If that's their game, I'll play it my way. Reflecting on everything I've endured, I swear I'll get my revenge. I'm Rachel Baker, 30 years old, an employee at a major financial corporation. I've been married to Matthew for 3 years, although we don't have children yet. There's a reason for that, a decision we made carefully. Both of us are focused on our careers, working hard to advance. We've always planned to wait until our professional lives stabilize before starting a family, and we agreed to revisit the topic once we've settled into our careers. This was an important decision for both of us, and we're committed to it. Eventually, we do want children, but now, as we prepare for that future, I can't help but reflect on the struggles that led us here. One day, I successfully completed a major project at work, and my promotion was officially confirmed. While my salary had already been comfortable, the promotion made things even better. Matthew, though he wasn't promoted, received a significant salary increase after his year of service. With both of our incomes growing, I felt it was time to make our dream of owning a home a reality. I decided to bring it up with him. Matthew, I've been thinking, now that we've both had stable incomes for a while, maybe it's time we consider getting our own place, I said. Already? Wow, I hadn't thought it was time yet, he replied, his voice betraying excitement. Actually, I've been wanting to bring it up too, but I felt a little hesitant since I haven't been promoted yet. Don't worry about that. It's not just about one of us earning. I was thinking it could be in my name, I suggested. Really? You're okay with that? Well, you're earning more now, so if you think it's fine, I'm all for it, he agreed. Great, let's start looking at some houses. We can visit model homes next weekend, I said. Sounds perfect, we can't miss this chance, he replied, enthusiasm in his voice. I really appreciate Matthew, especially in moments like this. We're so aligned in our values. The following weekend, we went to see several model homes, and it was inspiring. We started sketching out simple floor plans together and researching ideas online. During a visit to a construction company, they suggested we should have a clearer vision for our home. Rather than leaving it all to them, we could create a design that would truly satisfy us. So, Matthew and I began imagining our dream home. But we don't know much about architecture or design, so even with research, it's taking longer than expected. Still, we pressed on. Then, the doorbell rang. I thought it was a delivery, but when I opened the door, I was shocked to find my mother-in-law standing there. Mom, what are you doing here, unannounced? I asked, startled. She often drops by without warning. She didn't say a word, glaring at me as she walked right in, kicking off her shoes. I'm here, Matthew, she called out. Mom, what's going on? Matthew sounded equally surprised, walking into the room. Did you have some business around here? Matthew asked, his voice tinged with confusion. His mother, looking slightly puzzled, replied, Yes, I mentioned it to Rachel over the phone earlier, but it seems you didn't hear about it. I see, maybe Rachel forgot to mention it, Matthew responded, his tone apologetic. Seems like it, his mother said, glancing at me. Rachel, though she's still young, has such a terrible memory. That's not true, I protested, feeling a bit defensive. It's not that I forget things. Rachel's just incredibly busy with work and managing the household. She has a lot on her plate, Matthew quickly interjected, coming to my defense. You're such a good son, Matthew, his mother said with a warm smile. If your late father were here, he wouldn't have let Rachel off so easily. I truly respect Rachel, Matthew said with genuine warmth, before turning to his mother. So, what brings you here today? At that, his mother's smile widened, and she slowly pulled a travel brochure from her bag. She laid it flat on the table, a page marked with a sticky note, and showed it to us. Matthew, I've always wanted to visit Niagara Falls. Won't you take me? She asked, her voice sweet but demanding. Both Matthew and I were caught off guard by the unexpected request, staring at her in disbelief. Without missing a beat, my mother-in-law continued, clearly enjoying the discomfort she was causing. Come on, Matthew, you agree, don't you? Think of it as a way to show filial piety, she pressed, her tone taking on a more insistent edge. Wait, Mum, this is a bit sudden, Matthew stammered, clearly flustered by the request. I can't just drop everything and go on a trip right now. Oh, but you can come too, she said, cutting him off. I was planning to go with your sister, Sophia, but if you want, we can make it a family trip. What are you talking about? Rachel is here, and I can't get time off from work on short notice. And anyway, isn't it a little strange for me to pay for a trip for you and my sister? Matthew argued, looking perplexed. Not strange at all. Spending money for the family is a wonderful thing, don't you think so? Rachel? She suddenly turned to me, as if expecting me to back her up. Though I was shaken, I felt compelled to voice my opinion. Well, spending your own money for family is one thing, but it feels different when it's being imposed on someone else, I said carefully. What are you implying? Are you accusing me of trying to extort money from Matthew for the trip? My mother-in-law snapped, her tone sharp. No, that's not what I meant. I just think your request sounds like you're asking us to pay for the trip, I explained, trying to defuse the situation. Rachel, this is terrible. I never intended such a thing, but now you're making me out to be the villain in front of Matthew. I'm so shocked, she exclaimed, her voice rising in outrage. I didn't call you a villain, I was just responding honestly, I said, feeling a bit exasperated. Okay, no need to explain, she said, dismissing my words. Why are you being so heartless? You must not like me, do you? She glared at me, her eyes cold with accusation. The tension in the room thickened, and I could feel the weight of her stare. It always turned out like this when she came over. Every visit seemed to involve some demand for money, which she then squandered with Sophia, Matthew's sister. While the idea of spending money for the family might seem noble, the way my mother-in-law operated was anything but that. It felt more like extortion. Matthew had told me stories about how his mother and sister became increasingly selfish after his father passed away. When Matthew was still in high school, his father had managed the finances and kept their spending in check. After his death, however, they had free rein, using up life insurance money and continuing to live beyond their means. Sophia, who worked part-time, had a low income, and it seemed that they often relied on Matthew to cover their expenses. Before we got married, Matthew had been a bit more susceptible to his mother's demands. After his father's passing, he became dependent on her for emotional support, but since we've been married, I've seen him grow stronger and more aware of their manipulative behavior. Even when they asked for money recently, he had been doing his best to turn them down. It's been a huge step for him. Lately, he's even been able to stand up to his mother when she tries to guilt-trip him. You're really taking Rachel's side now? My mother-in-law asked, her voice filled with hurt. Just because you're my mother doesn't mean you can speak badly about Rachel. She was just answering your question honestly. Mom, Matthew replied firmly, his tone leaving no room for argument. What are you talking about? I think you're the one who's wrong. Mom, Matthew continued, his voice firm. This isn't fair, surely. Rachel hasn't turned me against you. You were such a kind person before I got married. That's what you think, huh? His mother responded with a mock sigh, trying to manipulate him. I suppose Rachel must have poisoned your mind. No, Mom, Matthew said, cutting her off. I'm saying this because I honestly think it's the right thing. His calm and unwavering response seemed to catch his mother off guard. She was so used to getting her way that the fact Matthew was standing up to her visibly frustrated her. She bit her lip in irritation and muttered, "Fine," before turning to leave. I'm sorry, Rachel, Matthew said softly as she walked out. I know this makes you uncomfortable. It's okay, I replied. You stood up for us. Once we're settled in our new house, we'll be far away from them. Maybe we can finally have some peace. Matthew nodded in agreement. That sounds like a relief. If you're okay with it, I'm thankful, Rachel. We had found a place for our new home, far from the reach of Matthew's family. The new house was located quite a distance from our current apartment, which would be more convenient for both of our jobs. While our current place was only 5 stations away from Matthew's mother's house, the new one would be 3 times farther and require transfers. The route was complex enough that they wouldn't be able to find us easily unless we gave them the address. This felt like the perfect opportunity to put some distance between us and my mother-in-law. A few months later, after submitting our floor plan to the construction company, our dream home was finally completed. The $500,000 house was everything we'd envisioned, and we were both excited to move in. Despite our busy work schedules, we managed to take a few days off to pack. As I was organizing boxes, my phone rang. It was my mother-in-law. I answered the call on speakerphone, busy with the packing. Hello? I said. My mother-in-law's voice came through, unusually high-pitched and sweet. Rachel, when are you moving? You bought a house, right? I want to live with you. I was taken aback. It was clear she had heard about our new home from Matthew. In the background, I could hear Sophia, my sister-in-law, laughing. This is perfect, Sophia chuckled. We can make Rachel work for us every day. Mom, that's a brilliant idea. Did they really think their words wouldn't reach me? It was obvious they were planning to take advantage of our move and use me for an easier life. I had no intention of living with them. I thought Matthew felt the same way. But now that they knew about the new house, was it possible they were assuming we would live together? The idea that my husband might be in on it with them made me anxious. But I wasn't going to let them get away with this. If they thought they could use me, I'd flip the script and make them regret it. I told them the date of our move. My mother-in-law and Sophia then demanded, "We'll come to the apartment that afternoon. Take us with you in the car and arrange for the movers, too." They ended the call, leaving their demands hanging in the air. Of course, I wasn't going to agree to any of it. I needed to talk to Matthew about this. I was just about to find him when I turned around and saw him standing behind me. Matthew, you heard all of that? I asked, surprised. I came to suggest we take a break, but I heard your conversation, he said, his expression serious. That was Mom, wasn't it? Yes, I replied. I was about to talk to you about it. Why did you tell her about our new house? It's not like that, Matthew said defensively. When Mom came over last time, she saw the floor plan, and she wouldn't stop asking about it. She kept pestering me every day, so I just... Rachel, I'm really sorry, he explained, looking genuinely regretful. So, you don't plan to live with her, right? I asked carefully, wanting to be sure. Of course not, Matthew replied firmly. After hearing that phone call, I'm actually thinking it might be better to cut ties with her. I'm really upset about this. His anger was palpable, and I could see how deeply this was bothering him. It was the first time I had ever seen him so angry at his mother. From what Matthew had told me, his mother had been eyeing our new house ever since she saw the layout. She pretended to show interest, constantly asking about the number of rooms and the details of the house. But now that I knew Matthew was on my side, I felt a sense of relief. Then there's no problem at all, I said, smiling slightly, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. This made me even more determined to deal with my mother-in-law once and for all. I had had enough of her manipulative behavior, and now it was time to put my foot down. It was goodbye to her demands for good. The day of the move finally arrived. Matthew and I spent the morning overseeing the movers as they transported our things, and by the time we finished, it was already well past 1 p.m. We decided to take a short break and check our phones, only to find dozens of missed calls from my mother-in-law. She'd called me too, Matthew said, sounding exhausted. Before we could rest for long, the phone rang again, my mother-in-law, once more. I answered the call, speakerphone still on. Hello? I said, bracing myself. Where are you? She demanded, her voice sharp. I told you I'd be at the apartment this afternoon, didn't I? I replied, trying to stay calm. Yes, I heard you, she continued, her frustration evident. So, what do you plan to do about the movers? I blinked, confused. What do you mean? I didn't arrange for any movers, I responded. You didn't? I've been waiting at home for hours. Not a single truck has shown up. I had to come to your apartment myself, she said, sounding increasingly flustered. Well, that's unfortunate, I said, barely containing my irritation, but like I said, I didn't arrange for any movers. What do you mean? That's not the agreement. Where is your new house? She snapped. I let out a slow breath. Do you really think I'm going to tell you? I said firmly, my voice unwavering. She let out a shocked, huh? As though she couldn't believe I was speaking to her like that. She had always assumed she could get her way as long as Matthew was around, but now, things were different. Matthew and I were a team, and he was standing by me, determined to sever these toxic ties with his family. I took the opportunity to speak my truth. I want to make this clear, neither Matthew nor I have any intention of living with you and Sophia. Please, stay out of our lives from now on, I said, my voice steady. Her response was immediate. What are you talking about? Your opinion doesn't matter. It's up to Matthew to decide. At least tell me where the new house is. I couldn't hide my frustration any longer. How are you going to get here if you don't even know the address? This house is in my name, and I have the right to decide who lives here. If you and Sophia show up uninvited, it'll be trespassing, and I'll make sure to press charges, I said, refusing to hold back anymore. Trespassing? How dare you say that about your husband's family? She exclaimed. That's when Matthew's voice cut through, colder than I'd ever heard it before. Family? My father, who was the only family member I had left, is gone. What do you think you're talking about? My mother-in-law was caught off guard. What do you mean, Matthew? She asked, sounding genuinely confused. Matthew took a deep breath before speaking again, his words firm and resolute. I'm done. I'm beyond fed up with you two. Just being related by blood is embarrassing. From now on, my family is only Dad and Rachel. I don't consider either of you my family anymore. Matthew, don't say that, she pleaded, desperate. Don't contact us again, understood? Matthew snapped, his patience finally gone. He hung up the phone without waiting for a response, then swiftly blocked her number. I turned to him, unsure. Matthew, are you really okay with this? I asked, concerned. Yeah, he said, his voice finally relaxed. I've come to terms with it. I see now that Mom was just using me all these years. I feel so much better now. And with that, Matthew and I had finally cut ties with his mother and sister. It wasn't easy, but we knew it was the right thing to do. Without Matthew's financial support, their lives were forced to change. My sister-in-law's part-time job wasn't enough to support them, and my mother-in-law, who had spent years as a housewife, struggled to adjust to the working world. Her clumsiness and lack of experience made her unpopular at her new job. Meanwhile, Matthew and I settled into our new home, free from the constant interruptions and manipulation from my mother-in-law. We finally had the peace we'd always dreamed of. I was beyond grateful to Matthew for standing by me and cutting ties with his toxic relatives. Life would surely have its challenges ahead, but I knew that with Matthew by my side, we could face anything together.